Banks. You gotta love them. They'll do almost anything to get your business. But when you really need them, whoa, watch out. And talk about service. Well, frankly, I wish they wouldn't. The other night, my account manager calls me up and says, "Hey, Mrs. Cazzello, it's RSP season. Maybe we can help you out." Well, I respond, first of all, it's not Cazzello, it's Cazzelli. Second of all, this is a really lousy time to call. I've got a pitch tomorrow that I've barely started. My 4-year-old just smeared Jell-O all over my 2-year-old's hair, and the dog's under the porch barking at, well, who knows what. And third of all, I already made my RSP contribution this year with, let me see, you!
Well, you're right. Sometimes we aren't exactly at the top of our game. But it doesn't mean we're all the same or that we don't care about service.
Besides, customers don't always get it right either. They can be challenging, rude, disorganized, argumentative, and even downright hostile.
But the customer is always right, right?
The customer always deserves the very best that we can give her. No question about that.
Which is why at BMO Bank of Montreal, we've introduced our customer promise, because we're determined to build lasting relationships through exceptional service.
Okay, hold it right there. A bank's making me a promise?
We know that not all of our customers are impressed with our service, even if they are satisfied.
And we also know that for some people, we're not even on the customer service radar screen.
And so you're going to make them a promise. Well, it better be one heck of a promise.
Well, it's not something we just made up. The bank's talked to a lot of customers to better understand their needs, and we've done a ton of research.
Which is how we got to our customer promise.
And now we're ready to translate that customer promise into a customer experience.
Whoa. Hold on. Things are moving just a little too fast here. First of all, what's this promise you've promised? I mean, if I were the customer, and I am, the first thing I'd want you to promise is that you'll get to know me and know my business.
As a matter of fact, that is part of our promise.
Yeah, but will you be there when I need you?
Also a promise.
And help me so I can win?
Absolutely.
And no more running me around in circles. I need you to be straightforward.
Promise.
And most of all, I need you to own my problems. Be accountable to me. Empathize with me. And I need you to offer me solutions for today and tomorrow.
All part of the promise. Respect, courtesy, exceeding expectations.
And caring for those who already have relationships with us.
Well, that would be me.
And we want to keep you as a customer. And we know we can't do that by just being order takers.
And now we're ready to translate that customer promise into a customer experience.
I'm guessing right about now, you're thinking, happy customer, situation resolved, walking merrily off into the sunset with everything I need tucked under my arm, right? Not so fast. You've got a lot of work to do first. I want to see some real proof that a promise is a promise is a promise.
She's right. We do have a lot of work to do, because even though we know all about the customer promise, we still need to make it part of our everyday conversation. And frankly, it's just not happening at the level that it needs to be.
Which is not to say we haven't made progress, because we have. Over the past 5 years, we've improved our productivity, our efficiency, and our operational effectiveness. Now we just need to grow.
And we can't do that without the customer.
Which is why delivering exceptional customer service is so important.
And why we've developed our customer promise.
Of course, we have to do it all without losing sight of the importance of sales and operational integrity. After all, we're the bank.
So, where do we start?
With you, of course.
Take a few minutes now to discuss our customer promise in your group and how your new role will be different from what you're used to doing. Then we'll show you step by step an example of how you can bring the customer experience to life in your everyday conversations.
In FSM, one of our most important activities is making outbound calls regularly.
So where do you start?
Well, it starts by knowing the 5 steps that are a part of every conversation.
These 5 steps include know your customer, listen and test understanding, recommend solutions and make suggestions, answer questions and address concerns, follow up and be accessible.
Let's get started. Let's see how these 5 steps can become a part of your everyday job.
Sure, Vince. I'll call you on Tuesday. Yep, with the file. Right. Okay, see ya. Okay, so time to make some calls. Let's see. I think I'll start with Jackie Phillips.
Hold on just a second. Remember this scene?
The first thing I'd want you to promise is that you'll get to know me and know my business.
Before you think about making the first call to a customer, take a few minutes and review why you're making it.
The key purpose for making these phone calls is to introduce yourself as the customer's dedicated FSM, and we do that by proactively connecting with the customer. By making this connection, we then have a chance to advance the conversation.
And advance the relationship. Making that connection will typically begin with a phone call to introduce an everyday banking solution. Customers consider the bank where they do their everyday banking their primary bank.
If their everyday banking is right, you have a solid foundation on which to build a relationship. The great thing is, the 5-step procedure is the same for any solution you want to introduce to a customer.
Okay, let's get going here.
Before picking up the phone, review your pre-call plan. Having a plan is essential to effective call management.
Then pull up Optimizer and review your customer's profile. By spending 5 minutes getting prepared, you maximize your chances of really knowing something about your customer, which in turn may give you some ideas for additional solutions beyond just everyday banking. All important pieces in building that trust and rapport with your customer.
Yeah, Jackie Phillips. She's really easy to talk to.
Again, before you pick up the phone, be sure to prioritize customers.
It's easy to call customers you already know. The objective is to grow our business and increase our share of wallet.
So you need to call all of your help-provided campaigns every quarter.
And that means calling a whole lot of people that you've never even met, but have the potential to become great relationships.
Like me.
Okay, so not Mrs. Phillips, but Mr. Mahdi is a priority. Let's see here. Full-time programmer, married, 2 kids, has an enhanced plan at $15 and is spending an additional $6.50 in service charges above the plan fee.
Knowing your customer is the first step in building rapport, which is the first step in having a conversation, which is the first step in advancing the conversation, which is what we have to do if we're going to build lasting relationships.
Okay, I'm ready. So what do I want to come away with?
The purpose for your call is to introduce yourself as the customer's dedicated banker. The objective, though, is to get your customer into the branch for a face-to-face meeting to discuss further needs or opportunities. At a minimum, get an agreement for a second call.
Reviewing your customer's everyday banking needs is the most critical thing we can do to begin to grow our relationships with them.
Because if customers do their daily banking with us, then we're going to be the most likely place that they'll look for other banking solutions.
Take a few minutes now with your group to discuss your new role, how to get the most out of your pre-call plan, and how you can use Optimizer to ensure that you know your customer before you start calling.
Okay, ready. I really hate making these calls.
Connecting with customers is vital to growing our business, but sometimes we just don't feel like it, or we feel we're too busy, or that it takes too long, or that the customer won't be there, or maybe it's just a simple fear of being told no.
Okay, so how do we deal with that?
Well, there's no way around it. Rejection is simply one of those things that will happen when you're making your proactive outbound calls. So first of all, don't take it personally. And acknowledge how you feel when it does happen.
Talk to a colleague and share your insights, but don't let it stop you. Remember, we're here to make things happen, and nothing happens when we're not calling.
Above all, plan your calls so that you know what you're going to say once you've got an approachable customer on the phone.
Okay, so I'm ready to get going. How do I start this call?
Good question. How do you start it? Pause this video for a moment and discuss how to get your conversation going.
Always start by introducing yourself using your full name and your branch, and by getting permission to continue the conversation at this time.
Hi, Mr. Mahdi. It's Michelle Hatt from the Fairlawn branch of BMO Bank of Montreal calling.
I'm busy.
Well, that didn't work.
Of course, just because we're ready doesn't mean the customer will be. But don't let that stop you from trying another time. Let's try that again, because this time the customer is ready.
Hi, Mr. Mahdi. This is Michelle Hatt from the Fairlawn branch of BMO Bank of Montreal. I'm your new financial services manager, and I'll be looking after your banking needs here at the branch. Is this a convenient time for you to speak with me?
Okay.
Of course, some customers prefer that you call them at work, while others prefer to be called after work at home. So be ready for whatever their preference is. Either way, by checking with the customer first, you show respect and take that first tiny step in building rapport.
Once you've confirmed the customer's identity, you're ready to go on.
Mr. Mahdi, the reason for my call is I was looking at your account and I wanted to tell you how you could save some money.
Wow. Fantastic. Tell me all about it.
Okay, that's the customer we'd like to get every time we pick up the phone. But in the real world, customers often have a different agenda. They may be pressed for time, they may be suspicious or indifferent.
For many of our customers, this will be the first time the bank has ever called them to be proactive. Be sure to think through as many possibilities as you can before you get them on the phone.
And don't expect every customer to be so accommodating.
I'm your new financial services manager, and I'll be looking after your banking needs here at the branch.
You're kidding. Another one? You're the third new manager I've had in the past 2 years. This is ridiculous. Can't you guys get anything right?
Ouch. That hurts. So what do you say now?
Take a few minutes now to share some ideas with your group.
Can't you guys get anything right?
Customers don't like the feeling of being passed from one banking relationship to another. And who can blame them? It's all about trust. And for most customers, that takes time. So you can't simply dismiss this customer's concern.
If you're faced with a situation like this, the key is to acknowledge the concern, but don't try to talk them out of their feelings. Instead, move the conversation forward and use this as an opportunity to explain the value that you can bring to the relationship.
Mr. Mahdi, I do appreciate that you might be disappointed in having to get used to someone new here at the branch. And that's exactly why I'm calling. I would really like the opportunity to meet with you in person and get a better understanding of what your banking needs really are. For example, I was looking at your account and I wanted to tell you how you could save some money.
Remember, every customer is different.
And yet, many of their concerns are the same. You've probably heard many of these concerns more than once. Here's another.
Mr. Mahdi, the reason for my call is I was looking at your account and I wanted to tell you how you could save some money.
Really? Like how?
Well, as you probably know, you're currently paying $21.50 in service charges per month.
You're kidding. That's way too much.
In order to advance this conversation, we really need to listen to what the customer is saying and to test our understanding. One way to do this is to reconfirm what you heard the customer say.
I could certainly appreciate that you feel you're paying too much, Mr. Mahdi.
It takes skill and practice to be able to handle every customer response. And we start by listening, because listening is the only real way we have to advance the conversation. And when we advance the conversation, we advance the relationship.
Take a few minutes now with your group to discuss what kinds of things you need to be listening for when talking to your customers.
Mr. Mahdi, let me tell you about the plan that I'm looking at for your everyday banking needs.
But I already have a plan. It's too confusing to always be changing from one plan to another. I just don't want to get used to something new.
What do you say when your customer doesn't want to change? Take a few minutes now and try out some possible ways to address the situation.
Customers, like the rest of us, don't always welcome change. After all, there's enough going on in most people's lives without having more to think about or manage.
However, most customers are open to saving money. So be specific, because now is the time to advance the conversation by recommending solutions and making suggestions.
Mr. Mahdi, it shows here in your file that you're making approximately 80 transactions per month. Plus, on average, you're paying for one non-BMO ABM transaction per month. With the new performance plan I'm suggesting, you would save $750 per month. At $13.95, that's all covered. You have unlimited transactions and more flexibility. So how does saving $750 per month sound to you?
Customers want solutions that will benefit them. Remember, part of our customer promise is to
Help me so I can win.
It's important that you are completely familiar with the everyday banking plans that we're offering customers so that you can explain to customers how we are helping them win.
take a few minutes to discuss the kinds of plans you'll be offering to customers and what the features of each plan are, because you can almost be certain your customers will ask.
Well, now you need to be ready to face the music, because if anything, we know you'll get a symphony of reactions from customers.
Does saving money every month with that plan sound like something that would interest you?
Frankly, the bank on the corner offers a better deal. I might just go with them.
Now what? The customer hasn't said no, but he might. How would you handle this?
Customers are pretty savvy. They know what's going on in the marketplace. Of course, so do we. And our everyday banking plans take competitive pricing into account.
Frankly, the bank on the corner offers a better deal. I might just go with them.
There is a lot of choice out there, certainly. I think if you look closely, though, you'll see that we are very competitive. And it's my job as your dedicated financial services manager to make sure we stay competitive by offering you a banking plan that meets both your pricing and service needs.
Customers don't really want to change banks. They just want us to make their banking a little easier. And one of the ways we can do that is to get to know them better.
And by getting to know them better, we're in a position to offer them better solutions.
It's part of our customer promise, because customers want us to
Offer me solutions for today and tomorrow.
Well, maybe. But I want to be reimbursed for all the money I shouldn't have been paying every month.
Bet you've heard that before. And if you haven't, you almost certainly will at some time. So be ready for it. Now, what would you say in this situation?
It's not uncommon for customers to want reimbursement for fees already paid, because in their eyes, why weren't we there for them sooner?
How about this, Mr. Mahdi? We really do appreciate that you have an established relationship with BMO Bank of Montreal. Let me reimburse you for the difference in the two plans for the past 3 months. That way you'll already be saving money with this new plan.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Not every customer will accept your offer, nor will every customer ask for a reimbursement in the first place. Again, listening carefully is the key to building this relationship. What specifically is the customer asking for? Are they pressing for a reimbursement?
Or are they simply trying to see how far you're prepared to go? Perhaps they just need to vent a little. It's not always obvious. And when objections come up, you'll have to make a judgment call.
While many of the objections or concerns that customers have can be predicted and planned for, real life has a way of throwing you the occasional unexpected curveball. Once again, practice is the key.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Thanks, Mr. Motti. Bye for now. Perfect.
Well, not exactly. There's still some critical follow-up that needs to be done. First, it's important that you confirm with your customer that he does want to go ahead with this plan.
So, Mr. Motti, can I confirm that you do want to go ahead with opening this new plan? Great. I'll get that set up for you right now.
Now that you've helped the customer to win, time to move forward and get him to come into the branch so that you can continue building a lasting relationship.
And grow our share of wallet.
Mr. Motti, what's your calendar look like next week? I was hoping we could get together here at the branch.
Oh, geez. You mean I have to come in?
It would be easy to assume that Mr. Motti doesn't want to come into the branch, but that may not be the case. Perhaps it's a time issue. There may still be a way to get him to come into the branch. However, keep in mind our promise. Customers want us to
Be straightforward. Be honest, clear, and upfront. Make it easy for me to bank with you.
Oh, geez. You mean I have to come into the branch?
Being flexible around your customer's timetable is usually all it takes to get an appointment. However, if the customer insists that he's just too busy, at least try and set an appointment to call him back when his schedule permits.
Mr. Motti, it sounds like you're really pressed for time, and I can certainly appreciate that. As I'm sure you realize, our business involves getting to know our customers better, and I imagine you'd like to get to know me a bit better, too. How would it be if I followed up with you next week to see if you have more time then?
Yes, that would be better.
In the meantime, I'm going to send you a copy of our Better Banking Guide. And I'm also going to put a note in my calendar to follow up with you in 2 months or so to be sure that the plan is meeting your needs.
It's also a good idea to send your customer a handwritten note or letter thanking him for his business.
And it's always a plus if you include something in the note that is specific to that customer.
Thanks, Mr. Motti. We really do appreciate your business.
By thinking through, discussing, and practicing these 5 steps with your team, you'll be ready to make your calls every day.
Now that your customer has agreed to go with our new plan, you're on the road to building a lasting relationship. The door is now wide open to advance the conversation by bringing other value-added opportunities to his attention.
Even though we've been talking about everyday banking solutions, the 5 steps are the same for any customer conversation.
Take a few minutes now to discuss with your group further ideas for proactively following up with customers.